That's the breakfast that I eat. Most of the time, 5 days a week. It consists of fresh fruit of some sort. Either what we're growing on the homestead at that time, what's ripe on the homestead, or fresh bananas, fresh organic bananas. Homemade granola, local raw honey, or in the winter sometimes real maple syrup. And the magic thing that I'm going to teach you how to make today. This is Angela from Art of Creation Homestead. Welcome to our kitchen. The magic stuff that I am telling you about is this. It's my homemade yogurt. You see, I live with acid reflux. And anybody who lives with acid reflux can tell you a big help for it is probiotic. This right here is magic. It is so full of probiotic, especially if you make it yourself. Yes, the stuff you buy in the store has probiotic, but not like this baby. This has so much more. Before I started making homemade yogurt, I would often have trouble during night with acid coming up. Throughout the day, I would have trouble with my stomach. I would have a lot of problems, digestive issues, all kinds of stuff. There would be times that I wouldn't get much sleep at all at night from problems with acid reflux. It's probably over 3 years ago now, I started making this beautiful stuff. I always ate yogurt before, but it was store-bought, and it helped, but nothing amazing. But this, on the other hand, when I started making this, it was a game changer. Now, those problems are few and far between. And my gut health has drastically improved and drastically healed. This right here is an amazing thing. And I'm going to show you how to make it today. It's very simple. For those of you who've never made yogurt before, you're going to think, oh, this sounds hard. You're going to make yogurt? No, it's actually pretty doggone simple. And you need very little ingredients. Very little of anything for that matter. In this pot, we have 8 cups of whole milk, which is also a full half gallon of milk. This will make 2 quart jars full of yogurt. The milk you see here, I don't know if the camera can pick up on it. It's not exactly completely white. It almost looks a little yellowy. I don't know if the camera can pick up on that. This is grass-fed, 100% grass-fed milk. You don't have to use that. For years, for the majority of the time that I've made yogurt, I've made it with regular old white pasteurized, homogenized, not organic, store-bought gallon milk. And it works just fine. It works great, actually. But recently I discovered that 100% organic grass-fed milk does make a better end product. And even increases the probiotic and vitamin amount in your yogurt. So if it's at all possible and you can find it and afford it, then buy that. But if not, you know what? Regular old milk works great. And I know some of you are probably thinking, but I don't buy whole milk. Can I use 2%? Yes, you can use 2%. 2% will work great. It just won't be as creamy. Whole milk makes for much creamier yogurt. Also, I do not recommend using skim milk. Skim milk will not react the same way. Preferably whole milk or 2%. So we have a half gallon or 8 cups of whole milk in here. Now what we're going to do, you need a thermometer. This is my thermometer. As you can tell, it has a probe. You can do any kind of thermometer you have. This is just the type that I choose to use. And we have one of these little clips. We all have these. This is a little trick, basically, to get the probe. If you have the type with the probe, this is the type to hold the probe in place, right where you want it, because you really don't want it touching the bottom of the pot, because you're not going to get an accurate reading then. So you clip it on the side of your thing, you push this down, and you stick your probe, see, you stick your probe down in there, and see, it holds it in the middle of the pot without it touching the bottom. Pretty cool trick, huh? I'm full of tips and tricks, you know that. So now what you want to do, you want to bring this milk to 180 degrees. That kills anything in it so that nothing can interfere with your live active culture, turning this into yogurt. So basically, it's just taking care of everything for you. But as you can see, I've got it set for 170. This one has an alarm on it. So you set it for a temperature and it will alert you when it gets to that temperature. I set it for 170 so that I know when to run some water. Because you want, at that point, when it reaches 180, you want to take it out and put it in some cold water. Put your whole pot in some cold water. Because you want to bring that temperature down. You want to bring that temperature down to 110. I almost forgot. I have to tell you what temperature to turn your heat on your milk. I usually turn mine on about medium to medium low. If you're going to be somewhere near it at all times, you're fine to turn it on medium. If you're going to be walking away a lot, I would turn it on medium low. You can give it an occasional stir here and there, but you don't really have to stand over it and stir it all the time. I know some people say you do. I've never needed to stir it all the time. It's done fine without me stirring it all the time. You may get a little bit of a film on the bottom of your pot, but that's normal. Anybody who's ever scalded milk knows that that happens. But it's fine. The other thing you need to do is you need to turn the light on in your oven. At this point, turn the light on in your oven. Do not turn the oven on. I will repeat that. Do not turn the oven on. Just turn the light on. That's all you're going to need is the light on. We're around 170 now. So now I've got about an inch or two, see? About an inch or two of cold water ran in your sink. That's all you need to do. And when it reaches 180, you want to take your whole pot and set the whole pot down in your cold water to bring the temperature down to 110. It's very important that you bring the temperature down to 110. Because if you leave it too high, it will kill your culture. So 110 is the perfect temperature for your culture to live and grow. Because that's what you want it to do. You want it to grow. Okay, my temperature got to 180, 180 degrees Fahrenheit. I pulled it out. I pulled it off the stove, and as you can see, I set it in my cold water. Now it has to come down to 110. And remember, if you have the type of thermometer that has the probe, make sure the probe stays off the bottom. At any type of thermometer, make sure it's not touching the bottom of the pot, because you're going to get the reading from the bottom of the pot, which is going to be hotter, and it's going to throw off your balance. Now while that is coming down to 110, this is what you need to do. Now, if you're doing this for the first time, you won't have beautiful homemade yogurt to do this with like I do. You will want to have regular plain yogurt, just plain yogurt. Not Greek yogurt, just regular plain yogurt. And you will want to make sure that on the side of the container that it says contains live active cultures, or some of them will say contains active cultures, some of them will say contains live culture. You want to make sure it says that, because all you're using that for is for your culture for the first time. Because after that, you won't have to buy anymore. What I always do is when I start on my last jar that I have in the fridge, that's when I make more yogurt. That way I know I have plenty at all times. And also that way I know I have plenty to make the next batch. So what you want to do at this point, you want to take a 1 tablespoon measuring spoon, I should say, and you want to scoop out what I do. I do 3 heaping tablespoons of my yogurt in each jar. See? It's thick and it's rich and it's gorgeous, and also it's delicious. There's 1, there's 2, and there's 3. And as you can tell, I do heaping. I do heaping tablespoons. If you like a little flavor in your yogurt, then put in just a tiny splash of pure vanilla extract. This isn't homemade. If you have homemade, all the better. But I put in just, if you want that little hint of vanilla to it, and you like vanilla yogurt, then add just a splash of vanilla to each jar and stir it into the yogurt that is in the bottom. But if you just want the plain yogurt, then that's fine. But one thing that I am going to tell you about this is the longer that you go using your own culture, because this becomes your own culture. My culture in my yogurt is now over 3 years old, as I said. The longer you have that culture and the longer you keep this process going, the thicker and richer your yogurt's going to get every time. And also it's going to get a little sweeter. It still has that beautiful yogurt tang, but not near as much as it does at first. It's going to slowly get sweeter and sweeter. It's to the point that anymore, I really can eat it straight out of the jar, and it's just amazing. These are the little ball plastic lids. They're BPA free. This is what I use. You can use regular mason jar lids, but after a while they do start to get a little gross and start to rust a little just from the acid in the yogurt. So it's really better if you use a plastic lid. You can also, a lot of people say that peanut butter jar lids will fit a regular mason jar, but you really want to use a plastic lid. Okay, we reached 110, and as you can see, I've poured it into a glass measuring cup, a large glass measuring cup, because it has the pour spout. Because it has this little pour spout. The pour spout makes it much easier to pour into the jars. If you don't have that, or don't want to dirty more dishes, then just use a ladle and ladle it into your jars. It will take a little longer, but it'll be fine. This is at 110, and as you can see, it's still warm, but see, I can easily stick my finger in it, no problem. It's just a little above your body temperature. It's kind of lukewarm, really. Now you want to pour in your milk. Now you're going to notice as your milk is heating that you're going to form that skin on top. Just pull it off. It'll be fine. Now, as you can see, I poured it up close to the top, and you're going to see that there's foam on top. You don't have to do this. It's not going to make a difference. It's not going to stop it from making yogurt, but I always pull that foam off. It's a consistency thing, I guess, because the top will have a little bit of foam on top. So it's more of a consistency thing. And I take it up, if you're a canner, you'll know what I'm talking about here, to about a 1/2 inch headspace. So about a 1/2 inch from the top of the jar. And I fill up my jars with my milk. And you want to give it, at this point, you want to give it a good stir. You want to stir in all that yogurt that is in the bottom, so it mixes in and those cultures start coming in with your milk, with your warm milk. And you want to put your lid on. You know, I've already told you to turn the light on in your oven. Do not turn the oven on, just the light. So now, I'll show you what we do next. Okay, now we're at the oven. And as you can see, I have a pretty thick bath towel laid on the rack of the oven. You want it laid on the rack of the oven for this reason. The thickness of your bath towel is going to depend on how long it takes, because you want it a nice thick one to hold in the heat. So, because you want to maintain that 110. So now, I sit my yogurt on the rack on the towel. Now you bring the back part of the towel up over your jars, like that. And then you bring the front part over top of that. And you tuck it in like a nice little baby. In all honesty, that's kind of what you're doing. You're wrapping it up like a baby. And see, now it's all nice and secure. Make sure your ends are tucked in. Make sure everything is tucked in nice and strong around your yogurt. Now, gently push your oven rack back in. Just gently. Now, close up your oven. This can take anywhere from 2 to 5 hours or more, depending on how thick you like it. This is all up to your preference. If you like it thinner, it may only take a couple hours. If you like it nice and rich and creamy, it'll take a little longer. This, with regular milk, I discovered it took a little longer than with the grass-fed. With the grass-fed, it takes exactly 4 hours every time to be rich and thick and creamy. So for me, it's exactly 4 hours. It could be like I said, it can be anywhere from 2 to 5. You just want to check it. But just don't leave that oven door open too long. Don't let the temperature come down. But I can tell you, mine is perfect at 4 hours. I will show you what it looks like when those 4 hours are up. It's been 4 hours. Are you ready to see what's under here? Let's look together. Looks just like it did when I put it in there, doesn't it? Until you do that. And you can clearly see, that it is solid. See? It's not moving. You can clearly see that it's solid. Now, let's open it up. See? Now you can see. See, there's some whey on top of there. And that whey, you can either eat it, it's good for you, or you can dump it off. Because as it sits, sometimes that whey will gather. But once you dip down past that little bit of whey, this is the thickest and creamiest yogurt you've ever eaten. See, I told you it's not hard to make your own yogurt. This now goes in the refrigerator and use it as you want to. And I promise you it's better than anything out of the store. And you saw how easy it was to make. And I can promise you it does wonders for your gut health. Thank you so much for watching. We appreciate your watching. We love your comments. We enjoy hearing from you. Thank you so much for supporting us. God bless and have an amazing day.